Traci Dean, number 5, Cyclone at Riverside Speedway, and you're watching Beyond the Track.
Tell us, when did you start racing?
2009.
And what was it that made you want to race?
I did the spectator drags and I was hooked from there.
Do you remember your first race and what it felt like to climb into that car for the very first time?
I thought the most exciting feeling was when you come out of pit road and went down on the track until I come out of turn 4 to get the checkered flag.
Yeah. Name all the tracks that you've raced at.
Riverside Speedway, Bear Ridge Speedway, Thunder Road, and White Mountain Motorsports Park.
Talk to me a little bit about your first win, the first time you won a race, and what that felt like.
It was like an unbelievable feeling coming out of turn 4 to take the checkered flag and to know that the checkered flag was for me to win.
Talk about you've raced at many different places. You've raced asphalt, you've raced dirt. Talk about the different dynamic of going from track to track and the different surfaces and how that has shaped you as a driver.
Every track, it was completely different. I had the same car at all 4 tracks, and they were completely different to try to get a setup. Bear Ridge and Bradford, that's completely flat dirt, but that's the track that's helped me the most going back to asphalt.
How much work do you put in on a weekly basis to get the car ready to go?
Depends on how bad it gets wrecked the week before. All day Friday out in the garage trying to get it ready to go for Saturday.
Talk about a time that you had a setback on the racetrack. Explain what the setback was and how you overcame it.
Well, I was racing side by side with Chris Caron this year in 2023, and I was so excited to be up there racing with him that I didn't even think, and I had the RPMs too high, and I didn't shift in time, so I ended up getting shuffled all the way back to the back, and I came back up through to finish second.
You're the only woman that's in your division. Does that present any challenges for you?
Yes and no. Some of the guys hit a lot harder than rubbing, you know. But I try to just keep up with them and drive my own race.
Describe the worst crash that you've ever had on the track.
It was in 2010 when I was in the first original Cyclones, and I was sideways in the track, and I got hit in the driver's door, and it flipped my car all around, and I ended up breaking my shoulder blade.
With that wreck that you had, was it tough getting in the car after that?
I was nervous. I set myself up and said I wanted to be back in the car by July 4th weekend, and I did it. I was back in the car, but I was nervous, and I was nervous for several weeks after that.
And I can imagine that from that point forward, that changed the way you were on the track.
It sure does, because I make sure those harnesses can't be any tighter on me. I make sure they're completely tight, and I have my husband pull them as tight as they can go.
Talk about a time that you were overcome with emotion, either angry or happy, how that affected you in the car and what you did to work around that emotion.
I'd have to say, after going back this time in 2020, hitting the wall the first race, then hauling the car all the way back to Maine, fixing it all week long, going back 2 weeks later, and getting wrecked into the same wall with the same car. And that time the car was totaled, so I didn't get to finish the race.
Do you have any drivers that you race with at Riverside that you look up to?
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Woodham, we waited the night we went to Victory Lane together. He said it was 20 years coming, so I was excited to be in Victory Lane with him.
At the end of the day, when you go race up at Riverside every year, because you've been racing there for quite a few years, what keeps you going back?
Just the adrenaline of being out there, and it's a great crew to race with. And the track owners, the Humphreys have, I've been racing there through many owners and many promoters, and the Humphreys have done a heck of a job making it fun again.
What do you do mentally to prepare yourself before the race?
Sit there and make sure that in the lineup, make sure my harnesses are as tight as they can go, and double check my helmet. And I'll also ask my husband that's standing by my door, who's where in the lineup, and go from there.
When you're in the race car and you're going around the track, what are you thinking about?
Just how to get to the front. How many cars are in front of you, what you got to do to get. Everything else goes black. You're just concentrating on the race.
You're number 5.
Yep.
Was there any special meaning why you picked that number?
Actually, my niece Samantha picked it. It was her field hockey number, and I told her to pick me a race car number, and it's been 5 ever since that day she picked it.
Would you like to thank any sponsors?
I would. First of all, I'd like to. My husband Brian is the one that gets me out there every week, every race we have. He works works at night and works on the car during the day just so we can join the race. And Two Sisters Quality Cleaning, M&M Transport, Jack Hayes Signs, and the Dean Farm in Waterford.